Hey folks, Andrew with Loftus Vineyards here. Today's our first episode of Taco Tuesday, and we're going to start with something that I think is vital, but I think a lot of people are intimidated by. Let's start with guacamole. My favorite part of Taco Tuesday. I often requested that I bring guacamole to gatherings. Well, in the time that we had gatherings, it was often requested that I make guacamole for people. And I think a lot of people are intimidated by it, but it's actually one of the funnest and easiest things you can make on the side that goes pretty much with everything, taco related or not. So a few things we got today. We have a molcajete here. And you know, this is one that I picked up a while ago and I've been using for a while, so it's pretty nicely seasoned. But if you don't have a molcajete, that's okay. You don't need one. All you need is a potato masher, and it'll get the job done just as effectively. The molcajete just provides a little abrasiveness that makes the smashing easier. So we can get started here. Garlic clove. I don't like the taste of garlic in my guacamole, but a lot of people do. And so I usually end up leaving it out. But there's a couple things you can do, and so I'll show you one. The inside of this molcajete is tough and stony. It's very abrasive. So if I take this garlic clove and just kind of press it around the sides of the molcajete, it'll take some of that flavor and that juice from the garlic clove. You actually see the garlic clove is falling apart. And it'll give the, the slight flavor of garlic to it, but not too much. Next up, we're gonna go with a red onion. I always use red. That's my personal favorite in guacamole. But, if you don't have a red onion laying around, use what you got. So we'll take it and we will chop it so we can get the good onion flavor out of it. I like the red onion raw. I think that's the best raw onion. And so when I'm making guacamole especially, I'll make sure I use the red onion. I don't use it so much for salsas. I usually keep salsa, usually a white onion, but guacamole, usually always red for me. So just get that chopped up. An entire red onion is a little bit too much red onion, honestly, so I usually just go with a half. Boom. That'll be enough. So take it, put it into the molcajete. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, this might be too much as well, so I'll just take the leftover red onion and save it for further use later. Let me put this on plate. Get it out of here and use it later. Alright. Next up on the list of ingredients that I'm using is going to be my pepper. And so, usually, when I'm making guac, I like serranos. And serranos are going to be a little bit smaller, a little more heat to them. But they didn't have any at the store because 2020. So, I'm using a jalapeno today. And I usually I leave the seeds and stems in. I think there's enough acidity from lime juice in this recipe, and the creaminess of the avocado actually mellows out the jalapeno a little bit. So I usually just leave in the seeds and the stems, not worried about taking them out. I will make sure to wash my hands afterwards and not touch my eyes. If you have never had jalapeno eye, consider yourself lucky. It's one of the worst feelings in the world. That stinging that won't go away. So you're probably asking yourself, why are you starting with the jalapeno and the onion? And that's because when I start mashing, I actually want the jalapeno and the onion to get a little squished, to put some of their juices out into the guacamole itself. So I'm not going to put the cilantro because that'll go in afterwards, or my special ingredient that we'll get to in a second, avocados. Be very careful when you're cutting an avocado. I've seen more people get injured cutting avocados than probably any other thing. Cut it around the pit. Take the pit, place it into your hand, and place the avocado kind of lengthwise, so it's like perpendicular to your hand. Then you're going to, well, maybe not, hold it like that, because you're gonna go perpendicular with your knife. Hold it, put the end, see the end of the knife in there, and then twist the avocado, and the pit will come right out. A lot of people save the pit and put it into the guacamole later as like, oh, it helps maintain the color. Whatever. Do it with it what you want. I usually just get rid of the pit. I don't put it in the guacamole for presentation or anything like that. So, and then I gave it a couple slices so the avocado kind of breaks up as it comes out of its little shell it's in right there. Just throw that in there. I'm gonna do one more. If you look at your avocado, the very tip top of it has a little bit of the stem still stuck in it. I usually remove that before I cut it because it'll give you a good indication of if the avocado is ripe or not, as well as sometimes when you cut it, it just falls into the guacamole, and that's never good either. As far as doneness and ripeness of avocados for guacamole, you want your avocado to be ripe, if not slightly overripe, because you are mashing. So having an overripe avocado actually helps out with the mashing process. Like this one I opened up and it's a little, it's almost turning, if you can tell right there. It's got some dark marks to it. That's okay, it's still good. But if we don't use it now, it'll definitely turn on us. But mixed in with the other avocado and the lime juice, it'll be all good. So once again, just cutting it in the skin and then emptying it into my molcajete. Now I'm gonna do something that's a little different. I'm gonna start mashing, but I'm adding salt to it as I'm mashing. And why I'm doing that is, once again, it's another abrasive. It actually makes the mashing of the avocado a little easier, gives it something to stick to, the avocado. So I'm just going through, mashing. There we go. Looking good. Looking all mashed up. Pieces of red onion, pieces of jalapeno in there. Really ready for us. All right, next up, I'm gonna hit it with a lime. You want your guacamole to have a nice lime citrus touch to it. It'll help preserve the color of the guacamole, as well as give it some light, some zing to it, because otherwise, I mean, you're mainly just dealing with avocado, which is delicious on its own, but still a little boring on the flavor palette. So mix in the lime juice there. I'm gonna take my cilantro, and I'm gonna tell you right now, this is gonna be too much cilantro right here. So I'll take half of it. This cilantro is really interesting because it looks like a lot of the leaves, a lot of the stems have pieces of cilantro in them. The cilantro stems are edible. A lot of people discard them and throw them away, but they won't hurt you if they're in your guacamole. I think this is the perfect amount of cilantro right here. We don't have a ton of guac, so making sure that we have the right amount of cilantro. And I know there are people out there who cannot stand cilantro, who hate cilantro. You have a deft hand in using it. You have to make sure that when you are adding cilantro to things, you're not overpowering. And then there are those of you who cilantro tastes like bleach, and I'm sorry. I don't know what I'd do without cilantro in my life. I'd be hurting, that's for sure. And then before the video started, I actually went ahead and peeled and diced a mango. And I add mango to my guacamole for a sweet flavor. I don't just use any mangoes though. This is a honey mango. It's like if a mango tasted more like a mango. And I use them all the time. I think they're great. You can find them in large supermarkets especially. But I like that flavor profile with the guacamole. I've seen people add strawberries, tomatoes is a popular one. Just something for a little bit of sweetness added to the guac. So I will take a handful of my honey mango. I will add it to the guacamole. A little bit more. Let me give that another mix. Oh, there we go. Looking great here. I know it's probably going to need a little bit more salt. But here's what we're looking at right now. So let me taste it and find out. So yeah, that is going to need a little bit more salt. Not a ton, just a little bit. But I think the acidity is okay. I don't think I need another lime. I think it's doing just fine. I did fry up some chips beforehand because chips and guac, one of my favorite things on the planet. So let me just go in here. It's pretty delicious. Would go great with a taco, go great with a chip, go great with wine. What do you like to put in your guacamole? How do you make your guacamole? Let me know in the comments down below. Until next time, stay safe out there, folks. Whoops, folks, I'm back. I forgot. We made lovely guacamole, but I didn't pair it with any wine. So I went into our wine cellar and I pulled out some wines that I thought would work really well with it. Starting off with this 2018 Estate Verdelho. I thought the Verdelho would really echo those mango tones and play with the heat the best. I actually liked this one the least. It wasn't bad, but it didn't stand out as much as I thought it would. In second place, we have our 2018 Albarino. So Verdelho and Albarino are both Iberian varietals. A lot of acidity on those wines. They're crisp, they're clean. This one has like green apple kiwi notes running through it, and it really brought out the jalapeno, but not the heat. The earth tones of the jalapeno, and then the sweetness of the mango came around and took over. So that was really fun and interesting here with the Albarino. The one that brought me by surprise, honestly, this is our 2017 Estate Roussanne. Roussanne's a French varietal, and I have never found a pairing for this wine. I've never found anything that I thought went well. And for the first time ever, much to my surprise, this mango guacamole with jalapenos paired very nicely with the Roussanne. Roussanne's a little, well, now that it's had some time to age in the bottle, it's developing a little bit more flavor. You definitely get those oak notes, but then it's like a lush nectar, a tangerine, definitely some citrus, some lemon, and it just kind of ping-ponged all these flavors back and forth on my palate when I added the guacamole to it. So that was really surprising. So if you are looking for a wine to pair with some delicious guacamole, you can't go wrong with either of those three.